The MG-15 was one of the earliest weapons that transformed German aircraft from observers into killers of the sky. Designed in the early 1930s, this 7.92mm machine gun gave Luftwaffe bombers and reconnaissance planes a defensive bite. Mounted on flexible ring mounts, it allowed gunners to spray deadly fire at attacking fighters. Though lightweight, its high rate of fire created a wall of bullets that enemy pilots feared. During the early years of World War II, the MG-15 dominated European skies, protecting bombers over Poland and France. However, its drum-fed system limited sustained fire, forcing crews to constantly reload during combat. Still, the MG-15 laid the foundation for Germany's aerial firepower doctrine: volume of fire, aggressive defense, and relentless pressure. It proved that aircraft were no longer just flying machines, but lethal weapons platforms. The MG-17 was the evolution Germany needed for fighter dominance. Fixed to the nose and wings of aircraft like the Bf-109, this synchronized machine gun fired through the propeller arc with deadly precision. Unlike flexible guns, the MG-17 turned pilots themselves into executioners, aiming directly at enemies. With its belt-fed system, it offered sustained fire during dogfights, allowing German pilots to shred enemy aircraft in seconds. During the Battle of Britain, thousands of Allied planes fell victim to its rapid bursts. Though later considered underpowered, at the start of the war it was a terror weapon, accurate, fast, and reliable. The MG-17 symbolized the Luftwaffe's philosophy: strike first, strike hard, and never give the enemy time to escape. When machine guns were no longer enough, Germany answered with the MG-FF cannon. Firing 20mm explosive shells, this weapon changed air combat forever. A single hit could rip wings apart or ignite fuel tanks. Mounted on fighters and heavy aircraft, it allowed German pilots to destroy bombers with frightening efficiency. The MG-FF introduced explosive power into dogfights, making every burst potentially fatal. Though limited by a low muzzle velocity, its destructive shells compensated brutally. Allied pilots quickly learned that being hit once was often enough to end the fight. This cannon marked the transition from bullet-based combat to explosive aerial warfare. The MG-131 was Germany's answer to heavier Allied aircraft. Firing 13mm rounds, it balanced firepower with weight efficiency. Used extensively on bombers and fighters, it packed more punch than rifle-caliber guns while remaining compact. Its armor-piercing and incendiary rounds made it deadly against both aircraft and ground targets. The MG-131 became a standard defensive weapon, especially in late-war bomber formations. It ensured German aircraft could still fight back even as Allied technology advanced. The MG-131 was Germany's answer to heavier Allied aircraft. Firing 13mm rounds, it balanced firepower with weight efficiency. Used extensively on bombers and fighters, it packed more punch than rifle-caliber guns while remaining compact. Its armor-piercing and incendiary rounds made it deadly against both aircraft and ground targets. The MG-131 became a standard defensive weapon, especially in late-war bomber formations. It ensured German aircraft could still fight back even as Allied technology advanced. The Mk-108 was built for one purpose: destroy bombers instantly. Its 30mm shells carried massive explosive charges, capable of tearing B-17 seconds apart with a single hit. Though slow firing, its destructive power was unmatched. German interceptor pilots needed only seconds to change the course of a battle. The Mk-108 turned the skies into kill zones. Mounted on aircraft like the Ju-87G, this anti-tank cannon allowed German planes to hunt armored vehicles from the air. Its armor-piercing rounds could destroy tanks with precision strikes. This weapon blurred the line between aircraft and flying artillery. The SC-250 was one of the most important weapons that turned German aircraft into true flying death machines during World War II. While it was not the largest bomb in the Luftwaffe arsenal, it became one of the most widely used and one of the most destructive. The SC-250 was a 250-kilogram high-explosive bomb designed to deliver powerful blast damage against a wide range of targets, from military bases to bridges, factories, and troop positions. What made the SC-250 so effective was its balance of power and versatility. Its thin steel casing allowed it to carry a large explosive charge, producing a devastating shockwave on impact. German engineers equipped the bomb with multiple fuse options, including instant and delayed action fuses. This meant it could explode on contact for surface targets or penetrate the ground and structures before detonating, making repairs extremely difficult for the enemy. The SC-250 could be carried by many different aircraft, including the Heinkel He-111, Junkers Ju-88, Dornier Do-17, and even fighter bombers like the Bf-109 and FW-190. This flexibility allowed the Luftwaffe to strike quickly and repeatedly across entire battlefields. During the early Blitzkrieg campaigns, SC-250 bombs were used to smash bridges, disrupt supply lines, and break defensive positions just moments before ground forces advanced. Beyond physical destruction, the SC-250 had a powerful psychological effect. The sound of incoming bombs and sudden explosions shattered morale and caused chaos among troops and civilians alike. Reliable, destructive, and mass-produced, the SC-250 became the backbone of German airstrikes throughout the war. It proved that aircraft were no longer just machines of flight, but weapons capable of reshaping the battlefield in seconds. If the SC-250 was the workhorse, the SC-500 was the heavy hammer. This 500-kilogram high-explosive bomb doubled the destructive power and turned German aircraft into true battlefield wrecking crews. Designed to smash hardened targets, the SC-500 was built for moments when Germany needed one hit to change everything. Airfields shut down, ports crippled, and entire blocks reduced to rubble. The secret of the SC-500 lay in its massive explosive charge and thin casing, which maximized blast effect. When it detonated, the shockwave could collapse reinforced buildings, crater runways beyond quick repair, and devastate troop concentrations. German crews could fit the bomb with instant or delayed fuses, allowing it to explode on impact or burrow into the ground before detonating. That delay was especially cruel to infrastructure. Roads, bridges, and bunkers didn't just break, they stayed broken. Aircraft like the Heinkel He-111, Junkers Ju-88, and Heinkel He-177 routinely carried SC-500 bombs on strategic missions. Dropped from altitude, the bomb struck with terrifying force, and even near misses could cause severe damage through blast and debris. In naval strikes, its underwater shock could cripple ships without a direct hit, making harbors suddenly very unsafe places to be. Psychologically, the SC-500 hit hard too. One explosion could silence an airfield or port, forcing evacuations and delaying operations for days. Reliable, powerful, and widely deployed, the SC-500 proved that when German aircraft arrived overhead, they weren't just passing through, they were rewriting the battlefield in a single thunderous moment. The Fritz X was not just another bomb, it was a revolutionary weapon that changed naval warfare forever. At a time when most bombs relied on luck and mass attacks, the Fritz X introduced precision. This German guided bomb turned aircraft into long-range ship killers and proved that even the most heavily armored warships were no longer safe. Developed in the early 1940s, the Fritz X was a radio-guided, armor-piercing bomb designed specifically to destroy large naval targets. After release, the bomber crew could guide the weapon toward its target using radio controls, adjusting its path as it fell. This allowed German aircraft to strike ships with an accuracy that had never been seen before. One well-aimed Fritz X could do the damage of an entire bombing run. The weapon carried a hardened steel body and a powerful explosive charge, allowing it to penetrate thick deck armor before detonating inside the ship. This made it especially deadly against battleships and cruisers. In combat, the Fritz X proved its terrifying potential by sinking or severely damaging Allied warships, shocking naval commanders around the world. Suddenly, air power could destroy capital ships without massive fleets or prolonged engagements. German bombers like the Dornier Do-217 carried the Fritz X on specialized missions. These attacks forced Allied navies to rethink their tactics, spreading ships out and investing heavily in electronic countermeasures. Even though its use was limited by weather and radio interference, the Fritz X demonstrated the future of warfare. Guided, precise, and devastating, it marked the moment when aircraft became not just bombers, but precision strike platforms capable of deciding battles from the sky. The HS-293 was one of the most dangerous naval weapons ever carried by German aircraft, marking a major step toward modern missile warfare. Unlike traditional bombs, The HS-293 combined a powerful explosive warhead with a rocket booster and radio guidance, turning aircraft into long-range ship hunters capable of striking from beyond heavy naval defenses. Developed by Henschel, the HS-293 was designed to attack ships that were difficult to hit with conventional bombing. After being released from the aircraft, a rocket motor ignited, giving the weapon extra speed and range. This allowed German bombers to launch it from safer distances, staying outside the most intense anti-aircraft fire. Once in flight, the weapon operator guided it visually using radio controls, steering it directly toward the target. The HS-293 carried a high-explosive warhead capable of crippling destroyers, transports, and smaller warships with a single hit. Even near misses were dangerous, as the blast and shock could damage hulls and onboard systems. German aircraft such as the Dornier de 217 used the HS-293 in coordinated attacks, forcing Allied ships to maneuver defensively instead of maintaining formation. The psychological impact was enormous. Allied sailors knew that if they saw a small, fast-moving object skimming toward them from the sky, they had only seconds to react. Although countermeasures were eventually developed, the HS-293 proved that guided air weapons could dominate naval battlefields. It was a clear warning of the future, where ships would no longer be safe simply because they sailed far from enemy shores. The WWII was a brutal and unconventional weapon that turned German fighters into flying disruptors of the sky. Unlike precision cannons or guided bombs, this air-to-air rocket was designed to break up massive bomber formations, not by accuracy, but by shock, blast, and fear. Introduced when Allied bomber streams began overwhelming German defenses, the WWII fired a large 210mm rocket carrying a powerful high-explosive warhead. Mounted in launch tubes under the wings of fighters like the Bf-109 and FW-190, the rocket could be fired from outside the effective range of bomber defensive guns. Once launched, it streaked into the formation and detonated with a massive blast radius. The true strength of the WWII was psychological and tactical disruption. Even if it didn't score a direct hit, the explosion forced bomber crews to scatter. Tight formations, essential for mutual defense, broke apart, leaving individual aircraft exposed to follow-up attacks by German fighters armed with cannons. One rocket could turn an organized bombing run into chaos within seconds. However, the weapon came with trade-offs. The launch tubes created heavy drag, slowing fighters and reducing maneuverability. Pilots had to fire the rockets early, then rely on speed and cannons to finish the attack. Despite these limitations, the WWII achieved its purpose. It cracked bomber boxes open and gave German interceptors a fighting chance during the intense air battles over Europe. The WWII proved that air combat wasn't only about precision kills, it was also about controlling space, fear, and formation. With one thunderous blast, German aircraft could change the entire flow of a battle in the sky,